Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TLDCast. Down a little bit here. You guys are having a good morning. Hi, Molly. Hey, Craig. Nice to see you. Good to see you in chat. Have a corneal abrasion. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming into TLDCast. This morning, we have our wonderful sponsor. Getting some feedback here. Andrew, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I just had some feedback in there, so I'll switch to headphones if I need to in a little bit. Yeah, good morning, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about benefits and what the future holds. And so, okay, and you okay there? I got
Yeah, I'm getting some technical feedback.
Okay.
Let me know if it's my end, maybe.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Is that better, guys? I think that's better. Maybe not.
I'm still getting echo, and I think it's coming in from your side. Maybe once we went live.
It'll be 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right, Luis, you talk about, you started off, and I will go see if I can grab another laptop.
Okay, sounds good. All right, everybody. So today we actually do kind of have an agenda with Andrew. Andrew from Designing Digitally is absolutely an amazing simulations developer. I'm sure you guys have seen him on TLDcast. He's been in at least a dozen times. And one of my favorite things to talk about, and I've talked about this on TLDcast in the past. In fact, I did an interview, I think a couple of years ago now with Marco Ficini, and about VR and AR. And so today we're going to be covering things like, VR trends, ways VR is being used most in the corporate environment, the benefits of VR, actual examples of like companies using VR successfully. We've got some things on the agenda like Lowe's Hollow Room experiences, which sounds really exciting. And then, of course, examples from Designing Digitally.
I'm hurrying. You guys.
VR experiences that they've developed. Like they've got a VR pizza maker video that we could share. And then, of course, I don't know if you guys have been to Steam and seen the Designing Digitally chop and drop case study. I mean, the chop and drop game. And then we've got an AR resource management serious game case study that we can talk about. And so, and good morning, Helena, Dominica. Nice to see you. So you want to test a little bit, Andrew? Can you hear me? Can we hear you? See what we got going. Andrew had a little bit of trouble on the technical side this morning, so that's why he's in his conference room with the overhead webcam. And so, just so you guys have some background on why I like to be in these conversations, like in 2015 or maybe it was maybe early 2016, I ended up getting an HTC Vive and really kind of jumping into VR back then. It was kind of in prep for our actually the TLDC 16 conference, and that device absolutely just changed the way I looked at technology and just computing in general. It was absolutely amazing. I couldn't get off of my HTC Vive for a while. I was just in there all the time, just exploring, and this was 3 years ago. It is such an amazing experience. And so I'm just always excited to talk VR. I have a lot of experience with like being on Steam and just downloading game after game after game, and I kind of want to talk to Andrew a little bit about that too. So, are you there? I hear some audio. Yes, no, I guess. Okay. Well, just to start you off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in some links to some of Designing Digitally's some of the resources that they have about the VR examples.
Ooh, are you providing resources?
So here is, I hope this is okay to share your VR pizza maker video.
I actually, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll actually share my screen. I have it up.
Okay,
that'd be good for you guys to see. And I know it's hard to hear me, guys. I apologize. My computer decided to die about half an hour before this meeting. So I'm trying to do it in the conference room, and I'm trying to get another computer to log in. But I know Luis may have been talking about this, and I have it turned down because apparently there's an echo. But here at Designing Digitally, we've been doing these very cool VR experiences around a few things. Number one, some of the most popular things that we've been doing VR experiences with are a lot of the hands-on job roles or field training where they're actually going out and doing these exercises, or whether it's to make pizza or so on and so forth. And one of the major reasons we find this to be beneficial, a lot of our clients are in the restaurant or food industry, and what you may or may not know is they are required to throw out the food that they use when training the employees on how to make burgers, certain pizzas, so on and so forth. Well, that cost and that expense really adds up for the volume in which a company such as Domino's or Pizza Hut or any other large franchise organization has to do when they're training all of these different employees. So what we were able to do is we have a price barrier that we all know about with the higher end HTC Vive and the Oculus Rifts. So what we actually did is we started to develop out with the Oculus Go, which is under $200, to allow us to build these learning experiences with an affordable hardware device. And so we're currently working with a client, and we have what's called Pizza Hero, where we're actually, you are in the VR experience learning how to make this particular company's pizzas and the processes and the steps and so on and so forth. So I'll kind of show you this just briefly, but you're wearing the Oculus Go VR headset. It is one controller, and it does give you kind of the walkthrough of what you're supposed to do for this particular lesson. From here, we can do anything like randomization of what you're supposed to put on the pizzas, and then it's your responsibility to free range actually develop out and build that pizza yourself in this VR space. So not only that, but we are going through those processes and confirming that you have done it correctly based on the steps that we want you to do. And you can get a little ridiculous with it if you would like. Again, we want it to be a little fun because it's about learning the processes, not necessarily being concerned if they make a mess, things like that. From here, these types of, and you're just looking at one walkthrough of one type of pizza. There are mini games built outside of this that are challenging them to make it harder and harder to complete. They have to complete the pizzas faster and faster, and they have to really start to know exactly what order of what topics and how those are to be placed and at what temperature or what area on the actual oven do they go and how long. And so by immersing them in doing this, they're actually going to be able to experience it without that cost override of having to pay to throw away all that food or to utilize the food to train them on how to make these.
Wow, that is amazing. What a great idea.
And, you know, looking at this is a low price point because what I mean is not price point from the development side, but we're using something that we can actually afford now. So we can get these out to the masses. We can buy, you know, 100 of these and it not absolutely break the bank. And we don't need, you know, additional computers and plugs and so on and so forth. This is a self-contained VR system.
So wait, Andrew, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so which VR system is this for? This is just for
this is the Oculus Go. Give me just a second. I'll show you guys.
So this is for the
my chats. So the Oculus Go is right here.
Okay.
And this one is the like the mid-range VR system. from Oculus, and it's self-contained. It's basically a free range, can walk around, take it with you. I usually have it in my rolling bag, but it's a fully immersive 3D spatial. It's not a video player. It doesn't take your phone in it. It's all 3D spatial, just like the Vive or the Oculus Rift. It's just at a lower price point. And it has its own store. It has quite a few different games. There's quite a few free games, free to play. You can set up virtual desktop. You can watch movies in there. One of the things I did just the other, about a last month or so, is I actually took it with me on a plane and watched a movie. And it was really interesting because I could watch that whole movie, and I'm sure everybody else thought I looked ridiculous, but I didn't even know I was on a plane because I was in that immersive environment sitting on a couch watching Netflix.
Wow. So wait, and that's the one that's for $199?
Yeah, this is the one for $199, and it's fully 3D spatial. It's fully, equivalent. I would say obviously the Vive and the Rift are higher end when it comes to graphics quality, but this gives you that fully immersive 3D spatial. It is the step forward for VR devices. It's no longer just a video.
Wow, that's pretty
now,
amazing.
Not only that, but this is multiplayer too. So you can see it right here. It's actually multiplayer. You and I can actually meet in here, Louise. It connects to your Facebook account, and we can meet in here and play these games together, chat, watch a movie together, whatever we would like to do. And it's got built-in voice and 3D spatial sound into it, so it's pretty incredible, the spatial sound. Even though you don't have headphones on, you can hear everything in detail, and if you hear something happen behind you, they have built it in so it sounds like it's coming from behind you, even though you don't have headphones on.
Wow, that is really.
In my opinion, this has been a leap ahead for VR devices. And so the other side of it is it's not like Steam. So one of the biggest differences, as we may or may not know, the difference between the Android and the iOS or the Apple store is Apple has a very strict process and screening process for their apps.
Yes.
While Android is almost a free-for-all. It's the same type of way for the Oculus. Steam is usually almost a free-for-all at this point, while Oculus is being very selective on the actual games and the applications that you'll be able to implement onto the Go. And the reason why is you can see here are them in pretty much order, in my opinion. Yep, this is pretty dead on right there for the level of sophistication. And so I don't know this guy, but he was the first YouTube video. So whoever he is, you're now famous. But outside of that, what we're finding is, it has a single controller, and you can pair, because it's Bluetooth, you can pair keyboards, you can pair joysticks, Bluetooth controllers. You can pair whatever you want through Bluetooth to it. So it allows you to use different hardware, not just that single device, but they are tricky. So you have to program them and map them together.
Wow. Have you just have you seen any organizations, or have you been in any environments where these are like being used specifically for training purposes, like I
actually have. We're working on a couple projects where we just had a electric company buy probably, I would say, 300 of those.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And they're not going to be using them. But in the perspective of the companies that we interact with, that's a very, very, very small demographic and population. So as technology evolves in the next couple of years, what we will see is we'll see more and more of these become cheaper and cheaper. And one of the things that I think is fascinating in the Go is they have what's called virtual desktop, which basically is a large screen desktop, and I can remote desktop into my computer, and it's pretty amazing because I have the fullest, largest screen to work on that I've ever had in my life.
Wow. And so you're talking, this is with the Oculus Go, with that
Yeah,
200.
this is really go. So I can work VPN off of the Oculus Go right onto my computer and see my desktop in full screen and work from it from there.
That is pretty crazy. I didn't
Yeah, it's
realize.
called Virtual Desktop. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. Virtual Desktop, Oculus. Right here it is. So you can just log into your computer and it looks just like this, and it's your desktop. And then if you have a Bluetooth keyboard already connected and a Bluetooth mouse, you basically just use it as your computer.
Wow, that's
blowing your mind, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I just didn't realize for a $200 device that it would have that capability.
Yeah, Luis, you know me long enough. I keep my eye on this stuff pretty heavily. So every time a new device comes out that we feel may be able to push the industry, we're on top of it, trying to look to see, what its value will be and how it can actually help us.
Right. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? Just sort of some of the trends that you're seeing is the prices dropping for these types of devices, and you're seeing that it's more and more widespread use. Like, what are the trends you're seeing when it comes to VR?
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I still see a large trend in AR, just because one of the biggest things that I see with VR is we still have hardware that needs to be purchased. We still have to get people into that experience. There's a little bit of an orientation piece. Since people are more familiar with their phones, AR has really taken off because we can augment the data and information as we need. What I'm seeing is VR is I'm seeing a lot of vocational and on-the-job training experiences being built. What I think is fascinating, though, is I also see a lot of them that are just basically simulated experiences like this, when we can really take it and push it to the extreme. However, we all know corporate training doesn't like to push things to the extreme. But what I do see is I see a lot more people being open to abstract conceptual ways of training people in VR, whether that's learning how to conceptually fix a computer, or learning how to become a better leader. We've also seen the need and the request for coaching VR experiences based on looking at people's body language and the way to handle them as managers. We've also seen quite a few different, electrical line working, plumbing, heating and air, commercial construction, anything where the risk of someone's body or somebody being hurt, this is really kind of accelerated that way.
Is there a particular vertical that is really taking on VR more so than others?
That's interesting. I get that question asked a lot, and there isn't. One of the things I can tell you is one of the vertical that's not really looking at it is the banking industry,
right?
Because that it's not really their cup of tea. Some of you have worked at a credit union, you know how that is, and so what I do see is more construction, mining, gas and energy. Companies like that where they have people out, oil, and those people that are out there that are risking their lives to do their job. This is a great barrier to, or a great way to stop the barrier for someone getting hurt. And so that's what we're seeing right now. And I'm sure as we see more case studies come out, we see more success stories from not just us, but other organizations. You'll start to see more ways of adapting it. Some of them I see, some of the leadership VR experiences I've seen are pretty fascinating. So I think we're starting to push that way, but it all depends on the actual need of the business anyways. So, you know, we can get a call today, a business need is A, and then tomorrow the business need is B. And so we're really just going to try to figure out what is going to be the best solution for them and not just push VR because it's cool. That's the other side of it is you can push and get a project, but that doesn't mean it's going to end up as a success. And if it's not going to end up as a success, then why even do it?
Right. So I want to just ask about this. Like one of the things that, you know, when you were talking about, you know, like say using it for people that like are, you know, sort of like risky sort of job situations, you know, like say firefighters or you know, emergency medical folks. Like, is there like being siloed off inside of kind of the virtual sort of headset? Is there a move towards being, you know, like having more of experiences, one-on-one experiences, like collaborative or team experiences within a virtual environment? You had mentioned something about that earlier, but more?
The Oculus Go, and that's actually, it's funny you say that. We're working on another one. I don't think they have it ready, but we're working on a VR experience. That's actually a piggyback from a prior project that we did with a client over, get that pizza in there. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. Where did I go with that, Luis? I'm sorry, buddy.
Pizza. You know what? Let's turn off that. Can I turn off that screen share real quick? Because maybe it'll. I think
that's probably why.
Okay, let me just close that video. Oh,
go for it. Do I stop it? Here, I can stop it.
There we go.
Hey.
You said you were working on something that was maybe more on the collaborative and social side.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, we had a client that wanted to do a project with a Leap Motion device where we did sorting of recyclable material. And so they've come to us and said, you know, it'd be really cool if we do some of that in the VR experience, but we want to be able to integrate. So what we've done is we've gotten rid of the controllers for the Oculus or the HTC Vive, so we're controllerless, and we integrated the Leap Motion. So now you're in a VR experience, but you're able to use your hands, which is far beyond what we were able to do before. So now all of a sudden our hands will be available. We won't have to have joysticks or controllers to do things. Yeah. It really is more of that immersive experience.
Wow. No, that's really, really cool.
Oh, I'm broadcasting from another window. I was like, what is going on?
Because that might be like the echo. I have an echo going.
Oh, that might be it. Was it me the whole time because I'm a jerk?
Yeah, there you go. All right. No, there's no more echo. That's how.
Oh my gosh. See, this is amateur hour. This is where the time where everybody gets to rip on me. Yeah, thanks, Craig. I know, bro. Thank you.
I know. Take the
fire me from this place for so long. Thank you.
So, you know, one of the things I wanted to sort of cover on this one that I think would be really interesting to just talk about, and I don't know if I talked about this with Molly in the past, but I have with some other folks, is using virtual reality for, like, say something like onboarding.
Yeah,
that tends to be a really big topic in the TLDC circles. But like, have you seen it being used for that at all?
Actually, you know what's funny is we actually did 360 video, which to me that's not fully a VR, but you were able to do it because it was VR compatible, but it was built for the web browser. We did this for a large grocery company, and what it was is orientation of how to and where particular groceries and things come in when they come off the when they come in as pallets to the actual store. Where do they go? How do they go? How do you stock them? What do you do? And we actually built those as 360 video experiences where we went out and met with the training department and then actually went into the store and set up the 360 cameras and recorded all of that so that they're actually 360 videos, but you're able to immersively be there. And then we had actors and actresses, basically like Twilight Zone, but not, like, hey, welcome, we're going to show you how to do this now. So this is John, and you're in a 360 setting. So this is John, and John's going to be showing you how to break down this palette. And then John would be doing that right then and there, and she'd be talking to you, standing there talking to you about it. Basically like they would in the actual orientation, like watch him do it and I'll explain it to you. And then later on, after they got done with this orientation overview of how to do that, they would actually go out and do it with a mentor, and they would be walking through after that with the mentor. So that was a really cool project, but that wasn't fully like the VR headset. It could be, in my opinion. I've always broken 3D video and VR as two separate things. Yeah. And you and I had that conversation. Like, I would go back to Samsung, and if I could, I would sue them for putting the word Samsung VR on that headset. It should have been just Samsung 360 and done and over with. It was a terrible marketing. It's confused everyone. Yes. And I blame it on Samsung. So,
Jenny just had a great question here. What is the benefit of doing that over just having people follow the process in the store?
That's a good question. Okay, so here's one of the things that they found. One of the things that they realized is if they're able to provide it multiple times and have them do it multiple times, they're going to remember it. So what they wanted to do is familiarize them with it on a video before they actually came into the stores, ensured that they already had a sense and an understanding how to do that. So when they went out into the stores, they were actually doing it with them. They're not spending that additional time with the mentor, walking them through it and doing it with them. They're, all right, you've already been shown how to do this. Let's see how well you do it. Let's go. And they're actually hitting the ground running and producing for this large grocery chain. They're actually producing as new hires, not, in my opinion, you're not an asset to the company until the 90 days is over. This company is saying, hey, if we can expedite that by having them do this orientation in a 360 experience, and they are told how to do it and what to do, so we get our lower levels of blooms that way. When they actually walk in the door and we have them go ahead and work with their mentor, we can actually have them go ahead and break down these pallets and get the stuff in the store, so they're doing the job right then and there, rather than waiting to get that stuff done later on.
Right. No, that's great. And she followed up with, so recall, retention, consistency was part of the goal. And I'd like to hear, what are your thoughts on just that? It specifically, recall, retention, consistency. How is that like such a huge, benefit for, using virtual reality?
Oh my gosh. So this one's a soapbox. So you're going to be very careful with this one. The only training that any corporation does that is only just once is compliance training, because they have to show to the insurance companies that you guys have completed that. In case of a violation of the general liability contract, in which our company has to have, like everybody else, so our employees have to take compliance training to ensure if we do get sued that we've already covered all of our bases with everyone that represents our company. Outside of that compliance training, no human being has ever become an expert at anything by doing something once. End of story.
Yeah. So I guess that GDPR training that I just took, I'm not an expert in that. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Let me guess, you're going to put a badge on LinkedIn and go ahead and say expert at GDPR now? Yeah, that's you. But it's really true. I mean, look at any athlete in any case or any situation, any musician, any other form of real training happens at a consistent pace until you have built those neurological networks in which your brain understands it can run those paths. You've learned that information, and your brain has now built it to remember that and to do it on call.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen unless it's consistent and over a consistent period of time.
That's great.
And no other learning happens that way other than remembering.
Is there a particular, can you think of a success story right now, a training success story using virtual reality that you can give us?
Oh, yeah. In our opinion, we have a few. First off, you guys have seen the Delta build. Delta has done an amazing job. Let me see if I can find the Delta VR build for you. Delta VR. Oops, not VA. That's not going to be right. The Delta has put together an amazing VR build where what they did is they are orienting people to, let me see if I can put it in the Here you go, Luis, and you can share it, buddy.
Yeah.
But Delta, what they did is they wanted to basically do orientation to flight attendants, and they wanted them to understand what to do in the plane, how to manage and take care of the plane, inside the plane, and what to do. But they did not want to, you know, pull or have the facility in which they had a large plane sitting there, in which they could only do 1 or 2 people at a time. So what they've actually done is they've developed out a VR experience where they have all these different rooms, and each room is an empty training room. Did that open it up? I don't know if that's the right one.
I'm gonna open it right now. Sorry, I've just got the
No, it's okay, bud.
What's that?
I was getting super excited.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Woo!
And let me know. Here it goes. Okay. And I think I can actually. I don't know if you can hear the audio there.
See, so what Delta has done is they've now taken the Oculus Rift and they've taken the Oculus Vive. So what they're doing is they're making these immersive experiences where you can be a stewardess or a steward, and you are actually able to be trained on what to do and how to do it within inside of those planes in a immersive like experience. And so let me see if I can find the one I'm looking for, because that one was just a quick overview.
That's really, really cool.
Let me see. Oh, there it is. The cabin crew. Sorry, Luis. Here it is. Bam.
Okay, let me bring that one up here.
Yeah.
It's like a movie almost, but you're in.
Sorry, let me just full screen it so you guys get the full effect, and share, and boom, and share. There we go.
Inside of the movies. It's super, super realistic. You're able to like touch and grab and hold on to things, and you're not worried about hitting walls. I love it.
The virtual reality is a result of a project that we started back in 2017 to really rewrite our entire new hire curriculum. We wanted to introduce some new technology. We wanted to take it from an instructor-driven program to a learner-driven program.
We're going to have you finishing up this lesson, please. It's giving our flight attendants, the new hires, a chance to get inside the aircraft and actually see it as a virtual setting. Yeah, go ahead. Do your monitor and challenge first for me, though.
There are 12 rooms that are set up in the space that we have behind us, and those 12 rooms are linked to one integrated instructor station where an instructor can review 12 students at the same time.
By increasing the number of students in the class at one time, we were able to reduce the number of months it took to train a number of flight attendants.
So, Ms. Perez, we're going to have you finishing up this lesson, please. And if you come on out, we're having you max out on your time.
The system's designed to train students on how to open doors, how to open emergency exits, and how to pre-check their emergency equipment on an aircraft. Everything's pretty self-guided.
It gives you a choice of airplane to use. Right now we have the 737, 787, 777, and A321 aircraft.
I'm a very visual learner. So to be able to go into the aircraft and actually see the seats, see the overhead compartments, you can even open the lavatory doors and walk inside the lab. It really gives me a complete perspective of exactly what this aircraft looks like.
We integrated a system that they can actually use their hands and reach and touch. And that was important for us because we're trying to build muscle memory with a lot of the door operations. They can open a door. If they can make errors like blow a slide, it's reset at the push of one button. If they make an error, we can step them back one step in the process, and they can continually train over and over and over again until they get a door right.
They prompt you and they let you like make mistakes without instructors or nervous students behind you, making you all anxious.
And I think it really helps the flight attendant put into their cognitive mind that one little mistake can make a huge error. And this lets them do that in that safe environment.
It definitely does give me confidence going out into the field.
I look at this as being something endless for American and having us be the complete innovator once again in the airline world.
We've always known that American has a rich tradition of being the first in a lot of the things we do. And we're very excited to announce that we are the first airline in the world to introduce virtual reality for our flight attendants.
So I think that's pretty fascinating in my opinion, because again, looking at those hands-on experiences, and if you guys notice the fidelity of the 3D models, it wasn't, super hyper realistic. for what they were doing on the hands-on training. That necessarily does not need to be the case. It's about the processes. Like, we all know what a door handle looks like. If the door handle is gray or gold, that doesn't necessarily change our ability to open or close the door. And so a lot of times we have to fight over fidelity and quality. So that's another thing that people need to keep in mind, is it's about them actually doing what you want them to do in there, and not necessarily how pretty it is. It can be pretty, but it doesn't need to be pretty for pretty's sake.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting that both the videos that you referenced were from airlines or transportation. You can see like how that would really, really benefit that particular space.
Oh, absolutely. And I think of, all of those individuals that are working out in public works, those individuals that are working just in those highly stressful physical jobs, and how this could really save them from hurting themselves, or even being able to train themselves and be safer so that nothing happens in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be interested to see if anybody in the audience has done any work, like doing any development for like virtual reality or augmented reality spaces. It seems like when, outside of maybe the Guild event that does that's the
realities.
Yeah, the Realities conference. I rarely run into folks that are actually building mixed realities for training. I think, I know Molly does, but I like these examples. I would love to see these somewhere, like to be able to actually look so that more people can understand, like this is what is available. This is what people are actually doing, because I feel like I just don't see that enough.
Yeah, there's this part, I think it's a lot to do, like I said before, about some of the hardware limitations. So when they are doing these, like, I can guarantee you, looking at that American Airlines build that we just saw, I mean, you and I both know, Luis, you and I have talked hardware pricing before. They're probably $2,500 per backpack right there, at least. So, in my opinion, until they can get them down to the Oculus size, but give you the motion tracking of your hands, we're going to be limited in that regard. That's why at the beginning I was like, AR is still very popular because everyone has a phone and there's no additional technology hardware that we need. So as we go forward, we're going to see, as the technology decreases, you'll see more and more examples of that. And for anybody, I just saw that Molly, thank you for posting that, Molly. Military, Luis, you and I have had a conversation even with Brent about IDSEC, and I've been to IDSEC many of times. They are light years ahead of us in the corporate training realm when it comes to VR simulations, that kind of stuff. But each one of their builds is millions of dollars, not tens of thousands of dollars. So it's a vastly different experience. And the reason why is their military, their simulations save lives. And in my opinion, I don't know if you have you can put a dollar amount on that.
Right. So is that would that be an instance of like some of the most impressive builds that you've seen out there
in the VR space, in the simulated VR space? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because they're using some pretty flipped out stuff. Not only are they using the VR, but they're using the ball, the holosphere ball, where you can run around like a hamster with a machine gun, and the machine gun's got infrared that's working within the 3D environment, and you can basically run your entire processes, your military processes for breaching a home or breaching an area inside of basically a large hamster wheel connected to a bunch of wires that's connected to the headset, that's connected to the gun that you have, so that you can have this fully immersive environment. And they were doing that back in 2007. So I was at IDSEC, and they had the hamster ball in which I got to do that back then. So, they are light years ahead of us in that regards. But to get into that realm, you're messing with Lockheed and Boeing and Raytheon. Yeah. So they've been doing that a long time.
Yeah, they've definitely got the funds to be able to pull that stuff off. I know I used to work in manufacturing. I used to work for a company that that put together insulated glass for windows, and these guys would like, carry around like these huge sheets of glass, and load them into these machines so that they can glue the two pieces of glass together. And I used to do that work. I actually have the scars on my hands to prove it. And that was, and I always wish that like I'd kind of had back then was, for a dangerous job like that, because if one of these panes of glass would just snap in your hands and, you were kind of just done for, there was just such a risk just getting trained for this stuff. But, I could see like in manufacturing how virtual reality could be really, really beneficial to sort of risky jobs like that.
We had one with a large healthcare company to repair an MRI machine, which we thought is pretty fascinating to do. Because again, those machines are millions and millions of dollars. They got to send somebody out. And they had to train them hands-on on those machines. This could save them a ton of money, and they could do that virtually if they really wanted to by mailing out a headset and having them do that, and then make that their training, and then come in and do some hands-on to kind of speed up that onboarding process.
Yeah. I've seen, and along those same lines, just sort of, I've seen some really amazing sort of like augmented reality experiences for people that are in medicine, just the surgery, just the human body. And, and so maybe just moving into that a little bit, you had listed something about the Lowe's Hollow Room experiences. What are those about?
Okay. So for, so like Hollow Room and Hollow Decks. That's okay. So Lowe's actually did, it's really cool, this innovation lab where basically they're teaching you customers on how to install tile, and basically giving you this test drive of being able to do hands-on projects inside of this experience without doing it yourself and hurting yourself or ruining your floors, things like that. Right now, the cool part is they have, I'm seeing if I can open up this video for you. Let me see if I can send you the video right now.
Sure. So are we talking, is this something that you'd use with the HoloLens, or is this an actual virtual, fully VR experience?
So it's actually a fully Oculus Rift VR experience, an HTC Vive. And here, let me just show you. They have it on Facebook, so I'll just send you guys the link right now. And it's super cool because you can, depending on who you are and what you're interested in, you can actually, if you want to play that video, you can.
Sure.
And what it is they have the ability for you to utilize gloves. And you get to test out each one of their pieces of equipment virtually, to see how it works, and holding tips and how to do particular things with particular devices at Lowe's that you may not have used before. And so for many of you, how many of you
are solution to develop?
Let me turn that down. Okay.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're fine.
Hollow room test drive.
So like, think about how many of you have ever tiled your floor the first time you do it. Oh, that's scary, And so what they've done is build out this experience where you get to test each one of the equipment, see how it works, and then from there gives you a better understanding of what you can and can't, what you could and couldn't do with each one of the hardware devices they have at Lowe's.
By guided shaping and designing session.
Oh my gosh! Sorry, when I saw the Hollow thing, I thought we were going to be moving to augmented reality.
Yeah, they just came up with this
virtual reality
kind of word for it, I guess.
I like how those Rift controllers are just, Vive controllers are just attached to those machines. That's really interesting.
Right?
Upwards of 10 AR and VR pilots.
As soon as they come talk to us, we'll get rid of those controllers for them.
After a single VR experience.
Wow.
There's no question. Virtual reality reaches well beyond visualization.
That would be so
fun. It's a platform that lends itself to education solutions.
And I know some of you were talking on, I think it was Mark or Molly or someone that had stated, it was Jenny about the chainsaw. And Luis, you saw this. We came out with this a couple of years ago. We had a company that wanted to do a training simulation on how to cut down trees in a residential location. So what we ended up doing is building this for the Vive, the Rift, and the Oculus Go, and it's called VR Chop and Drop. And it's basically just a free form for you to learn and to cut the trees in a residential location. But the actual training piece was built around the proper steps and procedures. Those were actually cut out, and what we did is we asked for permission if we could put this on Steam as just a free VR experience, and this came out in August of 2017. So we launched this quite a while ago, and it's free for anybody that wants to try it. And you can just download it on Steam, and if you got a VR headset, you can play it right then and there.
Yeah, that is so cool. I actually have tried that. It's really, really fun. It's a blast.
I'll tell you. You know what's the funny part is we found all these. You know what I thought was really funny is we went on. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. It's really crazy to think like YouTubers. You know how they play video games and then review them. They did that to our Chop and Drop, which I thought was pretty crazy. So the YouTube video I just provided is somebody actually playing it. Nope.
Just real quick.
I don't know what that one is, but let me find you a different one. Don't put that one in.
Oh,
What the heck? That is not it. Where is it?
It was a
there it
Chop review.
Yeah, there's one here that I want to grab.
Okay.
It might be Pop 2 review.
Okay.
So yeah, there were quite a few different VR or reviews, like people actually playing it and then giving feedback, almost like PewDiePie. Thank God it wasn't PewDiePie though.
Okay, here we go. Let me share this.
We found this quite fascinating that somebody was, had fun playing and cutting and just enjoying doing it. And then there was somebody that, they had quite a few people that were that would do commentary, which was really funny because they're like, oh, oops, and it was hilarious. But I don't know what that one meant.
Oh, I love stuff like that. I've thought about moving.
It was comical because what we were able to see is what everyone wants to see, which is do you actually have users interact with this, and you could see what the user experience was. So we were actually able to see that by these individuals doing that recording.
Oh, that must be so. Yeah, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, not the one of that guy that's just talking about it, because I've never seen that one that I sent you guys. But outside of that, there's a ton of these. Yeah, I don't know what he was talking about. I've not seen that. So there were. I bet you there's probably 10 to 15 of these, which is fascinating. And it gave us a bigger perspective on what to do in the future for user interaction thinking. Nope, there it is. I think I found him. Yep, I found him. Here you go. Here's our YouTube guy. Boom.
Okay, let me.
Oh yeah, we didn't add hearing protection. Sorry, guys. So.
Okay. Bring this one up.
Cool. It was interesting in my opinion, because you got to see
hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Flynn.
People give you feedback and what they thought on it.
Okay, hang on. Let me just. Oh, I added up. Sorry. Share that screen. Share. And look at this guy. Such a serious look on his
VR
face.
game here called Chop and Drop VR. You are moving a little bucket, kind of like crane thing that you're in, to reach high up branches and trees, and you chop them down with a chainsaw. The game's totally free, so let's play. All right, so here I am in the game on this lovely street, ready to go. Oh yeah,
So-
see those crane things. I didn't know you can actually,
9 times out of 10, we don't get to see this part of the learner.
but I don't think it goes. Let's just start. All right, so
We
here
just
goes-
get to see the feedback. We get to see if they completed it or not. We don't actually get to experience what they experienced.
Oh, I did not know you could go higher and lower. That
See, so there's an indicator for us. They didn't even have any idea they could go higher and lower. Yes, it is for user testing. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that is really,
Yeah,
really,
just
really
kinda like
cool.
this. You gotta actually use the
So
trigger.
you just, the one thing I tell our team is you never know where your stuff will end up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you got to cut where the lines are.
All right, so let's see. I've got
Very
about
nice. And then the
5-6
top
minutes
bracket.
left, and I want to talk about the future of VR as you see it. And the future of VR and learning in particular, of course. I mean, give us the Andrew Hughes take on what's going to be happening in the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. What do you see?
Ooh, good question. Well, first off, we're seeing new Oculus and HTC Vive are coming out with new devices here. So we want to keep an eye on those because as we see within the next 2 years, in my opinion, price points will get down. You'll see probably 2 iterations of Oculus coming. And when those come, they will be cheaper and cheaper. Looking at what I have heard and what I'm looking at is, they're trying to get something under $100 that we can use on a daily basis. So they're trying to basically make the Oculus Go and other Oculus experiences outside of their high-end Vive to be equivalent to the Google Chrome books. That way they can be a household device. And that's really what Oculus is pushing for. HTC is trying to do the same thing, but Oculus was the first to hit the ground running with the Go. And you're also going to see, they have the Rift S coming out, which is the higher end version of the Rift. For anybody that hasn't seen that yet, which is going to give even more quality and fidelity. And so you're going to see more adaptation as technology becomes cheaper and cheaper. In the next 5 years, in my opinion, I said this before and I'm going to say it again, it drives me nuts that this cell phone is just with me, but not as a part of me. So I would love to be able to get rid of this and have it here, but I would also love to be able to figure out a way to utilize more of that virtual desktop like I talked to you about. I find myself staring at a screen all the time, and I find myself needing multiple screens. So in my opinion, I think we're going to end up, I hope we don't, in our cubicles with VR headsets on in 10 years. That would be amazing, but it would also be very sad because we're already looking down at our phones all the time.
Yeah.
So it's scary, Luis. In my opinion, I think this is a excellent way for our society to go for training, for learning purposes, for safety. But I also think as a society, it pushes us closer and closer to isolation from each other. And for some odd reason, that's what we've done in society anyways. We went from our towns to our communities, to our neighborhoods, to our streets, to our houses, and now to our tablets, to our phones. And soon we'll just have something strapped to our heads.
Yeah.
And so, not to get scary, guys, but that's my anticipation.
Wow. Yeah. No. And in fact, I personally sort of and this is kind of like a side note. I'm trying to really try to get away from the screen as much as I can. I mean, I sit in front of one basically for at least 10 hours a day. But as just that family life, you want to be kind of present there for for those 2 beautiful boys that you have. You just want to make sure that they see enough of that they can at least see your eyes here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just
I'll tell you, you already know this. Unfortunately, if you're gonna try to see me, if you try to email me or see me during the day, it's not gonna happen, and you're probably not gonna see me on social media during the day because of that reason. I'm trying to run the operations of the company on top of my little guys. On top of I'm still full and I'm still teaching online. So
yeah.
So
do you think that's one of the biggest blocks? I mean, it's one of the biggest challenges that mixed realities has, is just the fact that it can you end up getting isolated so much?
I think we're doing that as a society as a whole.
Yeah. No, that's a really good.
I think Luis, you and I had this conversation, and this is getting very philosophical, which I love, because I love looking at the psychology of humans and structures and that. And in my opinion, the media and our society has scared us into our homes, and we're now addicted to our phones, which now we have this friendships that aren't physical, and we're not really all there in our physical environment. So VR actually, I hate to say it, lends itself to adapt to that pretty quickly. The hindrance is the hardware, and the hindrance of getting people into that space when they aren't as familiar. So until you see a large scale adaptation of what they're trying to do with the Oculus Go across society as a whole, it won't be adapted as fast as, let's say, AR or phone apps or things like that.
Right. That's really interesting. I have to say that even for me, when I get on the Vive nowadays, I mean, I know that there was a period of time where I was really into, like, say, Space Pirate Trainer, and there's the other one that came out with the Beats. I can't remember. Where you're just you've got the lightsabers. I can't remember that. What's called?
Oh yeah. The like the slat. Yeah.
But
it reminds me of Guitar Hero.
When I turn it on, I like to go into, like, say, I go into the Google Earth simulation, and I end up like going out to the desert and just like sitting there like at sunset and just looking around. Like, those are kind of my favorite experiences, and I don't know what that exactly says about my relationship to to simulations, or even to stimulation nowadays. But that tends to be my the choice I have now. It's like, when I get in there, I just like to go somewhere where I can chill out.
Which is ironic, considering you live in California and I'm in Ohio, and the worst day in California is better than the nicest day in Ohio.
Oh man, you should be here nowadays. It's absolutely amazing right now.
You're killing
anyway,
me. Hey, I actually will be. I'll be there. I'm heading up to Learnapalooza next week in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
And then I have to come to LA over the weekend. So I'll be in LA next weekend.
Oh, awesome. You're going to have a wonderful time.
So work related.
Yeah, nice. Okay, man. Well,
one last thing. Best game ever to play. Virtual reality. I posted the link. If you guys do have a VR headset, the reason why is virtual reality. You're basically a worker for the machines instead of the machines working for you. And you have to get jobs, and you're basically like this captive worker for the machines. And your job is to make the machines happy. And at the same time, you're trying to figure out how to break out of the place. And it is amazing. The story alone blows my mind.
Okay. Well, can you play it on the go, or do you need like a Vive or a Rift?
No, you can play it on the go. You can play it on the Vive. You can play it on the Rift. Whatever you want to play it on. You can't play it on the Samsung VR because that's not real.
All right. I'm going to put in my favorite one too. The Wave. It's called.
Oh, yeah. Wave VR is sweet.
Yeah. I love going in there. It's kind of, it's a little psychedelic, but I don't know. It's super fun,
I love that stuff. I love that stuff.
Andrew, thank you so much for sharing today with us. I always love talking to you. You're one of the coolest people I know, and probably the coolest person in L&D.
Whatever. Oh, look, you're making me blush. You can't even barely see me.
Who am I dissing right now by saying that? But I'm just, I want to say thank you again for everything, and thank you for your support with TLDC. We just love having you, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again next month, and we'll push all this stuff out, get some conversations about this. This is actually like it's given me some. I want to activate some of the ideas that I through this conversation soon. So we'll keep talking.
Yeah, thank you guys. Sorry about the audio. My apologies, and sorry about the computer. I'm 0 for 2, so now I gotta make up for this crap. So thank you, and sorry guys for all the hassle. If anybody has any questions or anything, you can always shoot me an email at designingdigitally.com. Also, I know our research team has been doing quite a bit of work when it comes to infographics and white papers. So I'll post a couple there. We've been working on the VR white papers, infographics per the request of the industry, because again, they had the same situations where they're trying to justify this. So there are some of those for you guys to take a look at and to download. And thank you guys so much for your time today.
Absolutely. And just so you all know, I've been doing more extensive sort of blog posts after each one of these broadcasts, and I'll have all kinds of notes from this in that one, including all of the links that were posted in the chat. So so keep an eye out for that. And thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time. We've got the big, we've got the competency models playlist tomorrow. So make sure you're registered for that. We've already got like 40 people or something registered for that tomorrow. So, hopefully we'll see you then. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you guys. Take care.